Welcome to the 2025 North Adams Mayoral Debate. My name is Tammy Daniels, and I am the editor of iBerkshires.com and the moderator for this event. This forum is brought to you as a partnership between iBerkshires.com and Northern Berkshire Community Television, and it is being recorded for later broadcast on NBC-TC and on iBerkshires. The two candidates for a two-year term for mayor are with me in the studio. Jennifer Macksey, who is running for a third term as mayor, and her challenger, Scott Berglund. Each candidate will have 3 minutes for an opening statement and 2 minutes for closing. The format will be 2 minutes to answer each question, a 1-minute response, and a 30-second follow-up. The moderator reserves the right to extend the debate on a particular question or follow-up on an answer. The order of opening statements was determined prior to the recording, and that will be Ms. Macksey. The questions will also start with Ms. Macksey based on her position on the ballot. So, Ms. Macksey, if you'd like to give your opening statement.
Great, thank you, Tammy. Hello, North Adams, and thank you, Mr. Berglund, for being here today. Let me begin by sincerely thanking our moderator, Tammy Daniels, and the television station for hosting this debate and bringing this important conversation into the homes of our residents. When I announced my candidacy back in July of 2021, it was out of deep, lifelong commitment to the city, a place that I've always called home. My parents taught me early on in life of the importance of giving back to the community that raised me. That lesson shaped me to who I am, and it continues to guide me in my service to the city of North Adams. My background in public service, which crosses both municipal government and education, has prepared me well to lead with integrity, accountability, and clear understandings of the challenges that the city faces. As your mayor, I've made it my mission to represent all residents and to always put the best interests of the city of North Adams first. Leadership is not easy. It means making informed, sometimes difficult decisions and standing by them. I've never backed away from that responsibility. From day one, I've stayed focused on what matters to most of the people in North Adams, not distractions, not divisions, but real issues that affect our daily lives. North Adams needs and deserves a leader not only that envisions progress, but delivers it. I was that leader 4 years ago, and I remain that leader today, driven by the same passion, dedication, and commitment to the city of North Adams. Tonight, afternoon, wherever we are, I look forward to thoughtful and respectful conversation about the future of our city. I want to discuss improving quality of life, investing in our neighborhoods and infrastructure, strengthening our local economy, supporting our seniors, and ensuring our children receive the best education possible. But more than just naming challenges, I'm here to offer solutions and leadership. Leadership is more than identifying problems and complaining about it. It's about fixing them and getting them done as a community. It's my honor to be with you today. I wish Mr. Berglund the best in this debate, and it would be my honor and great honor to continue serving as your mayor for many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and Mr. Berglund.
First, I want to thank NBC-TC, Ms. Tammy Daniels for hosting this debate, and Mayor Macksey for accepting it. I'm Scott Berglund, a 2-time cancer survivor. My journey started while recovering from cancer. While recovering, I discovered a precious watershed would be sprayed with cancer-causing agents. In addition, this would destroy a beloved trail and put our water source in serious danger of contamination. I found this information extremely concerning as it would seriously damage our city's infrastructure and pose a threat to our environment. Today, you will see 2 different visions in North Adams. The mayor's that will continue to kick the can down the road, be a reactive city, versus mine that will take ownership and be proactive by working with investors and the citizens to collaborate and plan for the future. North Adams is in a dangerous position with a failing infrastructure, high taxes, fragile economy, failing school system, and very little housing. This is the result of a lack of vision, bad or no planning, and worse off, bad leadership. As mayor, I will immediately begin course correction by keeping the end goals in mind, rebuilding the city so that all residents can afford to live, having a pro-business climate that attracts investors, thereby creating jobs. new growth opportunities to help share the tax burden, analyzing the best use of your tax dollars and meet your fiscal responsibilities, and returning transparency to our government. After all, it's your government. Today you'll hear the same old tired promises as the last debate. The mayor boasts experience. So I ask yourself the following questions. How's this experience working here in North Adams? Is the overall quality of life better now, or did we just kick the can down the road another 2 years? Did our sidewalks, pipes, roads, bridges get better, or did they fall into further disrepair? Did we make it easier for our seniors and our disabled community to move about the city? Or has the last 2 years of an aging infrastructure made their commute more challenging? Has our experience led to more housing opportunities, or is it same or worse? Has our experience led to economic growth, or has it stunted it? Will you join me in the fight for North Adams and vote for me November 4th? Or will we vote for the status quo once again? Will we vote for someone who feels entitled to be mayor because she's lived here her whole life and is writing on her last name? North Adams has a serious choice to make this election, and I know North Adams residents are ready for change because it's been long overdue. We won't be fooled the third time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And we will get right into a budget then with Ms. Macksey. Question 1, $2 million in reserves were used to balance the fiscal 2026 budget. With further increases ahead from inflation, school project costs, and possible reductions in state aid, what plans do you have to balance the fiscal 2027 budget?
Thank you, Tammy, for that question. We were fortunate enough when we started 4 years ago to be able to build up the reserves, and that's what they are exactly there for, to balance the budget and to offset the tax rate. As we move forward, we are looking at efficiencies within the system, everything from how we can streamline things in IT and permitting and all of that. Not so much to reduce positions, but just to make sure we're as efficient as possible. We also, rather than put burden onto the taxpayers, have explored many, many grant opportunities, which we've been very fortunate that a lot of our infrastructure improvements that Mr. Berglund said is lacking are in process or coming. As far as balancing the budget, we've been very sensitive of exploring and obtaining grant opportunities to address the sidewalks, to address our dams, to address our streets, and also to do things within the scope that we may not always be able to do. For example, we know that the flood control chutes are an issue. We did do a borrowing order on the HRR project, but the majority of that we fight for every single day to get the federal funding that we have, and we will continue to do that. I'm very sensitive to the fact that we need to, be sensitive to the tax rate. I'm very concerned about seniors in the community, not only from a tax basis, but what's going on with utilities. But we haven't been sitting on our hands for the last 4 years, and I certainly haven't. We've brought in close to $44 million that have allowed us to do projects that we wouldn't be able to do. So yes, I do pride myself on my last name. I pride myself on my work ethic, and I pride myself on my financial forecasting. And I think we're in a very good position. Yes, times are tough, but times are tough in any kind of business sector that you have. And I really think, when we talk about what we're putting on the taxpayers, I'm very sensitive to that. I could go out and borrow money for a public safety complex tomorrow, but I don't want to do that. The priority in this year, last year, was the Greylock School project.
Okay, and I'm going to let
Sure.
Mr. Berglund, do you have a response? What was your answer to the question? Do you need me to say it again?
Yes, please.
$2 million in reserves was used to balance the fiscal 2026 budget, with further increases ahead from inflation, school project costs, and possible reductions in state aid. What plans do you have to balance the fiscal 2027 budget?
Well, Tammy, I would like to give some information on it. Unfortunately, I have asked for end of the year reports, and her department has said that they were not made available. So with that being said, it's really difficult to go through the finances and see how we can balance the budget or how we can do things like flood chutes and other things.
Do you want to
Yes,
30 seconds?
yes.
So as far as the reports not being available, I think you're talking about the annual reports, Mr. Berglund.
Yes.
And I rightfully admit that we are behind with printing the books of the annual reports. but our audits are completed through fiscal year '24. We are working on the fiscal year '25 budget, and if you requested that under the Public Records Act, as you know, there is a timeline for that. But I would be happy to share our audit with you for fiscal year '24 if you haven't received that.
Well, I have not received the audit for '24, and there has not been an audit done in the last 4 years. And
That is
came
completely
at,
wrong. That
please
is
don't,
completely
please do
wrong.
not, please do
No,
not interrupt my time. Your department head had sent me an email that I have that says that that it was not available, that there was not an audit done in 4 years, and that you are behind on it, and you will not release them until you do an audit. That's what I have, and I do have email stating that.
I think what you're referring to is the annual report, which is an actual book, not the audit. And I believe most of our audits are on our website up to
There's-
'24.
Your administration has not had an audit in 4 years.
That is not correct.
That is absolutely
Mr.
correct.
Berglund, you are wrong on that.
Ms. Mayor, you're absolutely wrong on that. You have not done an audit in 4 years. I've asked for the financials, the annual reports. They are not done. I'm not willing to make a statement on how I'm going to control the city because we do not have the correct information for me to make that decision.
So just conceptually, you may not have a budget report, but what general skills do you have to manage a $52 million budget?
Let me tell you what we're going to do. This is what I'm going to do.
I want to know what you're going to do.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out and I'm going to have an audit done. I'm going to have a state and I'm going to have a third-party audit. And then after that, I'm going to actually have a town hall and we're going to have some transparency around here. And I'm going to share all the information that I get from that.
Great. We've had an independent audit.
You have not,
Scanlon and
that's
Associates.
not what I'm asking for. You have not had an audit in 4 years, and you have not had an audit in 4 years, and we're looking for the end of the year financials, which you are behind on, and it came from your administration, not mine. I put a public record request like you asked.
I didn't
And
ask.
I asked for the
You
public
asked for
ad,
it, yes.
and I followed the procedures like you asked me to. I did not get that information. So you can sit here today and say all the data you want, but that's going on based on your word and not anything that is available today for the public.
Why is your word any greater than my words, Mr. Berglund?
Listen,
And, no, you listen.
hold on, stop, please, you're interrupting me,
We
please do
have
not
done-
One at
interrupt
a
me.
time.
We
One at a
have
time.
done an audit. I
Ms. Macksey.
readily accept and say to you, we are behind in producing the annual reports, which is the little black book.
Okay, then
I'm sorry, Tammy.
you know what we're going to have to do, I think, Mayor, I think we're going to have to agree to disagree on this. Okay.
Let's do that, Mr. Berglund.
Just to clarify, there is a 2023 North Adams Single Audit Report on the website, so I don't know what that means, but there is one up there for 2023.
I want current
So,
info.
but not a report, yeah. Yeah, the last report, just when I'm reading off of the website, so I just to clarify everything. There was a 2023 Single Audit Report, and there was a 2022 financial statement. So there was a year difference in those two. Okay. Okay, well, let's go on to, and this one would be Mr. Berglund. Would you have supported the Greylock School project? Why or why not?
No, I have not. I did not support the Greylock School project. I feel there's a couple of things about that. One, it puts a tax burden on the seniors. One of the things that, as I travel the city, I find is that they're afraid to be priced out of their homes. The other thing with this, the Greylock school system is, it's hurting seniors out of their homes. Seniors already paid for multiple schools already, and the school vote was very close. And my concern is that, again, with the seniors and themselves, we don't, what are they going to do when the tax increases keep going up and they just can't get out of their, they have to get out of their home. So one of the things we should be doing is looking at some tax senior relief, especially with the Greylock School. The other thing is what my other concern with the Greylock School is we haven't maintained all the buildings and the things that we've had prior to this. So we're going to spend $60 million plus on a school that we haven't taken care of the other ones. And the last concern is I think what we're doing now is we're putting priority over passion projects. In other words, we have a dam that needs repair, and and I have studies from the mitigation study that says that if we don't make repairs in this dam, that there could be severe loss of life. And that particular building sits right on the land that if that dam was to go bad, would wash that all away. And that's my concern as being mayor of this city, that we have to take safety as priority number one. And I'm all for supporting the teachers. I'm all for supporting new schools and things like that, but there's a time and a place for that, and that's not the time and the place. Our priority should be focusing on the dam, the watershed area, and replacing our pipes and bridges. Those are the things that are in dire need of repair right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Macksey.
So with the Greylock School project, securing the state funding from the MSBA for the elementary school was a big achievement. And it was a decision that I didn't take lightly. And I agree with you, Scott, the burden on the elderly is of a concern. It was a difficult choice for myself. It was a difficult choice for many in the community. But I led the vision for a forward-thinking vision, one that supported the future educational plan and the professionals, and most importantly, the students. I laid the path, and ultimately, the majority of the voters approved it. It wasn't my sole decision. It came to a vote, and the vote won. With Greylock School, it was a situation where if we did kick the can down the road and didn't take this opportunity, we wouldn't see it for years to come. We wouldn't have that opportunity in years to come. As far as your comment about we should be prioritizing dams and bridges and et cetera, we received a municipal vulnerability grant that is engineering the fixes for the Notch and the Notch Reservoir in Mount Williams. So we are taking a proactive approach. The condition of those dams have been in disrepair for many, many years. And as far as fixing our bridges, we have two great opportunities. One, we're fixing the Brown Street Bridge. And yes, Scott, Mr. Berglund, I'll give it to you. It took us a little while to get organized with that project and what was the best way, but we are doing a repair. And then secondly, our Veterans Memorial Bridge, we have two great opportunities. The first is we are going to get funded through the TIP program through the state of Massachusetts to reconstruct that bridge. It's a $20 million project. And then in the future, we also receive the Reconnecting Communities grant that not only examines the future of that bridge, how that bridge impacts our traffic flow, but is looking at all the different traffic patterns within the city of North Adams. So that's not kicking the can down the road. That's inheriting infrastructure issues from the past that any mayor, even you, Scott, Mr. Berglund, will inherit things if you are successful. But I will say that we haven't kicked the can down the road. And with the Greylock School project, which was the original project, that's important. We need to invest in our kids. And if we don't invest now, we will miss that opportunity for a good 20 years.
Okay. Mr. Berglund, do you have a response?
Sure. I want to invest in my kids, but I also want to talk about something too. I'm all for supporting our teachers, and I want to make that perfectly clear. But our teachers don't even have the correct resources. And I'm going to share a personal story they have about school, because I have a child that's autistic, okay, Archer, and he's been suspended 10 times in our school system, 10 times. And they know he had autism. And that's just not right. And I hear throughout this community that this is a huge problem with us not being able to follow IEPs and things like that. And I am suggesting what we should be doing is reinvesting in our infrastructure. I know there's been some stuff out there saying it would cost us $43 million to go through this and all this. But again, my question is where is all the evidence for this? Where can I find that we went out and actually did a study on the Greylock school system? Because I can't find it. And a lot of people in the community feel that way. What I'm saying here is we're really putting the cart before the horse. We need to have support for our teachers before we build the brand new school and invest in the infrastructure we already have, because those buildings are still in great condition. They just need a little work to get the upkeep on them. And again, my other concern is that we don't take care of the stuff that we already have, and we need to be better in the maintenance. And as mayor, that's what I'm going to do. We're going to shift some funding so we can get our vital assets looked at and what needs good repair or what we can salvage and repair so we don't have to incur those expenses in the future. Thank you.
Mayor Macksey?
So with disciplinary issues within the school, and Scott, I don't know your situation, but I will say that the school department has invested several dollars into having student adjustment counselors. We are dealing with students who have many social emotional issues. I'm not specifically talking about your situation, just in general. And we're addressing those head on. The biggest problem we have is keeping staff. Some of it is because of salary, and some of it is it's a really hard job. And our teachers are supported. And I was just in the school the other day, and the work that they're doing in those classrooms are remarkable. I had one teacher singing and dancing and the kids moving around, and then the next minute they were doing math. So to say that the teachers aren't supported and to say that we don't have good schools is just wrong. There are situations that maybe could be handled differently. There are situations that are a little bit beyond our control. But as far as when it comes to special ed, we follow the IEP, and if we don't, that's a conversation that we should have, certainly. But I think that is a rare occurrence. I know that the team works very hard in special ed in addressing all of the needs, but we can't forget our other students as well. And I think the team in the school department does a great job in really helping any and all students, no matter what their background is or their situation. But I get confused. In one breath you say that we don't maintain our buildings, and then in the next breath I thought you said that some of our buildings are fine and why can't we reuse them? And as far as the MSBA project, we did an extensive study on whether we renovate Brayton, renovate Greylock, build new at Greylock. There was an extensive study, and we would have never made it across the goalpost if we hadn't had all those analytics. And the study actually started under the Bernard administration, and that decision was made that we were going to close Greylock School and move everybody to Brayton. And when I came in, I wanted to look at both schools thoroughly, and we did that. What would it be to build a new school at Brayton? What would it be to renovate Brayton? What would it be to build a new school at Greylock, renovate Greylock, etc.? So those records are available, and if you want to put in another public records request, we'll get them for you.
And Mr. Berglund?
Yeah,
Well, I've been letting you guys go over a
yeah.
little bit, so if this
Can I
still
just get a
interests
couple
us.
things to clarify,
Yeah.
a couple points? One, first, what I mean by buildings being in okay shape, what I'm saying is that they are not beyond, they are in disrepair, but we can revive them. And we should recycle and reuse the buildings that we have before we decide that we're going to buy or do other projects. And the reason for that is I know this to be fact, that past behavior predicts future behavior. We've not treated the stuff that we have here very well in North Adams. I've been to a lot of different areas, and I've seen a lot of different things, including blight and things that really have disheartened my heart. And you know what? I live in this community. I've been here over 2 years, and this is my community, and I care about it. And I want to make sure that every student's successful. And it's not just my son that's had a problem, but it's because it's not that the teachers don't have the support. It's the teachers that don't have the supportive services for my son that is causing the issue. And this is not just my family. This is a lot of families that feel this way. And as far as the school, we had like 43 students graduate from Drury. I'm sorry, but when I go and I talk to residents, they can remember the days when 200 students graduated from that place. We've got serious issues with our school system, and as mayor, I'm going to champion that to make sure that all our teachers have the resources and the things that they need to make sure that every kid with an IEP, and I can promise you, Mayor, they are not following IEPs. They are not following. I've had multiple meetings with this. I'm super passionate about this because I'm involved with my kids every step of the way, and my wife's a champion when it comes to that. We need to do better as a community, and I know we can do that. I know if we work together as a community and come together, we can fix these problems, and we have to. And that's the problem that we have with this current administration. You just do not have the community engagement that we need. We have to come back together. It has to be a government for everybody, and that's where I'm going to leave it.
Mayor Macksey?
So
Ms. Macksey?
separate from this debate, and I would say this to any parent, and specifically to you, Mr. Berglund, separate from this debate, I would be very interested to talk about what your concerns are within the school to help your son and support your family. Happy to do that. And you're right, our graduating class from Drury High School are small. I graduated in 1991. We were a class of 113 people. That is one of the reasons why we're looking into the future and we're looking at this regionalization option. I think you've read about that a little bit in the paper. And the reality is our population has been cut in half.
I know, we had a population of 24, and I don't mean to
Exactly.
interrupt you, I'm just
No,
sharing
that's
the knowledge
fine.
I have. We had a population
You're absolutely right.
of 24,000.
And we have people like me who aren't having children, right? So we're not adding to the population of high school bound or elementary bound students. But I will say, we are attracting more families into the community. We are seeing younger families move into the community just like you. And we're happy about that, and we embrace that. But are we going to be a city of 24,000 again? Probably not. But that doesn't mean that, graduating, I think it was actually 62, but you may be right with 40.
Between 40
Yeah,
and 62.
I think it was
You know,
62
split hairs,
students
but-
because I gave out a lot of diplomas that night. But I agree with you. Our class sizes are small, but it's not depictive of just North Adams. Go to a Hoosick Valley graduation. Even the McCann classes are getting smaller because there aren't high school bound students. We do lose a lot of students to McCann, and I believe strongly in the vocational program that they have down there. It's a different option for students, and I'm thrilled that in a community like North Adams, we have those options available for our students.
Okay, I've let you guys really go over, so we want to get to a lot more questions here. So
Well,
I'm
we're
going
having
to
fun,
start.
aren't we,
I'm going to
Mr.
start
Berglund?
being really tough on you. But I
Don't
mean,
be
it's been
too
a good.
tough.
It's been a
Don't
good
be too tough.
conversation, so that's why I didn't want to interrupt too much. But let's kind of get through some of these questions. So question 3, and this is going to go to Ms. Macksey. The city is holding on to a number of underperforming properties for years: Mohawk Theater, the Windsor Mill, the Heritage State Park. What is your plan for activating these spaces or for getting them into the hands of private developers?
So one of the things of underperforming that we can say we've executed on is the recent once beautiful Church Street properties that unfortunately we had to take through tax possession and became ownership of the city of North Adams. As an administration, I gave the charge that we need to get those moved as quickly as possible. We were successful in selling all 3 properties. When you talk about underutilized properties, specifically the Mohawk Theater, we just received a $50,000 grant for business development to what we can plan out of what we want that space. I'm very proud that we were able a few years ago to restore the marquee. That is a corner point, a gem in our downtown, and looks beautiful. But the reality is that I really think that the Mohawk needs to be a multi-purpose space, not only to host concerts and live performances and community events like the Mohewi or the Kelvin Theater, but also be part of the housing stock. There's some beautiful space above the Mohawk that could be turned into condos or apartments and get more people living in the downtown. The Windsor Mill is a challenge. It always has been my whole career with the city of North Adams. I talk regularly that I eye that for a public safety complex, but we also think should we get rid of it and petition it or RFP it to be a housing development. I don't want to be a landlord. That is not what we're in this business for. We are a public service entity. And then we talk about Heritage Park. So Heritage Park, I will readily admit, has been a disaster. As you know, way back when, many of the tenants moved out when it was going to change hands and that transaction fell through. We've tried to get roofing and other kind of financing, and just recently we received a $300,000 one-stop for pre-development work to address the design and engineering for roof, windows, the paint. Some of the paint has asbestos or a contaminated paint. So we're looking at that.
And I'm going to move to Mr. Berglund next. Do you need me to say it
Yes,
again?
please.
Okay. The city continues to hold on to underperforming, underutilized properties, including the Mohawk, the Windsor Mill, and Heritage State Park. What is your plan for activating these spaces or for getting them into the hands of private developers?
Well, the first thing I'd like to do is work more with our local businesses and local investors. I know there's people, as I've been on the campaign trail, have approached me and have had some ideas, especially with the Mohawk Theater. I was at a gallery the other night and met a lovely lady, and she said she'd like to bring some kind of ballet or theater back to that place. So I'm all for privatizing. My stance is, as a business person, we should own properties. We don't have a ton of money here in North Adams. We should have people, local investors first. I like that too, because they understand when we put stuff back on the tax roll that it's going to help reduce our taxes. And I believe that that's the best thing forward. We need to start having more privatized entities come in, again, local first and then outside after, because I don't want what some things are happening now, whereas we have people that are coming in, buying property cheap, and then now they're using it as a tax write-off for a depressed community. And I don't believe that's the right thing we do. We need housing, we need businesses to come back, and being a more business-friendly environment. But here's the question I have with the mayor. We ended up canceling contracts. The contract when you first came in was canceled for the Mohawk. That was a done deal. Somebody already wanted to develop that. So that's 4 more years that we didn't have something that could have been in the tax roll. Then I've had private investors tell me that they want to invest into Heritage Park, and then that wasn't part of your vision. And this is what I'm hearing in the community. So my thing is if I was mayor, I would gladly have somebody take over the Mohawk. I know the Marquette was important, and I do like the Marquette. It is cool. But we need to start thinking about, in my opinion, we got to have not passion projects, but we have to have projects that are going to move the city forward for North Adams, that's going to benefit the community, that's going to move the needle. We have to start fostering a better business climate so people want to come and be welcoming and not be deterred by the process. When we cancel contracts and we make it difficult for people to do business here or make it difficult to lease land, that becomes a problem and sends a bad vibe to the community.
Okay. And Ms. Macksey, do you have a response?
Sure. Mr. Berglund, I think we just need to educate you a little bit on municipal dialogue. There was not a cancel of a contract for the Mohawk Theater. There was never a contract. It was a request for a proposal, and someone put in a bid, which Mayor Bernard left for me, and I rejected. That is what is done with RFPs. And it was rejected. Yeah, request for proposal.
I understand what they are.
It was done because at that time I didn't know the person who was requesting it, and I don't want to give away the Mohawk Theater for the amount of money that was being offered. I have worked greatly and have good relationships with people from Hotel Downstreet that have invested in North Adams. The Porches, Greylock Works. Mr. Carver has this beautiful lamp company coming in that we're so excited about. And I know that you called Covest and asked them, did you pull out, did Starbucks pull out because the city didn't cooperate? And what did they tell you? They probably told you that the city was very cooperative. And that whole deal, that is something that we've been courting for a very long time. And it's not the city's fault that Starbucks got a new leader, right? We can't control that, but we are certainly ready, willing, and able. Do I agree that sometimes the process is time-consuming? Is the process a little boggled down? It is, but we have to ensure that all measures are met: planning, zoning, conservation. And that's what the process is about, making sure we build out the best projects. But to say that we're not business-friendly, you are absolutely wrong.
Okay. Mr. Berglund, 1 minute response.
Well, again, as I travel through the community, these are the things that investors and people are telling me is regards to the Mohawk Theater. That's what my understanding, that it was under contract and that it was canceled. And I do understand what RFPs are and how they actually work. My stance still is that we need to foster a business climate where it's welcoming. And the Heritage Park has been, from what my understanding is, my research, has been a thorn in the side for a long time because it's been a blighted property. And there's been several investors that have come up and wanted to do something with it. And this administration, for some reason, I don't know what your reasons were, because I'm not sitting in the corner office, but they were upset because they want to do something with that property. As mayor, that's what I want to do. I want to have open dialogue with our business community, the people here first, and then if they don't want to do something with it, then we can investigate something further outside. And I believe that that Heritage Park, if we can get that place going, if we can get in a private investor, when I start bringing people back here to look at North Adams is a good opportunity to start a business, they're going to see that the Heritage Park sign's not falling down. They're going to see that we have roads, bridges, pipes, things being repaired. They're going to see that we're investing in our community. And it's just been slow rolled for the last 4 years. And I understand there's challenges, but again, there's not a whole lot of transparency with this administration. So I don't know what projects she's doing.
And they're going to see that, Mr. Berglund, if you are successful on November 4th, because of the great work that I have done by repairing both bridges, by fixing the marquee, by paving roads. I agree with you. We have sidewalk issues, but we're putting in close to $1 million in the Church Street, Ashland Street area, and we have another grant that we were recently awarded for Eagle, Maine, and Marshall. Those areas that are buckled, we are slowly internally trying to fix them. We resurfaced some of the Main Street sidewalks, but there's still a lot of work to do. But when you bring those investors in, you'll reap the benefit from the hard work that my administration has done.
Mr. Berglund, you got 30 seconds.
Sorry.
Any response?
No, that's okay. You know what, though? We could have fixed those sidewalks and other things, and the disabled communities asked multiple times, even specifically Judy Rivera, to fix these sidewalks, and we missed great opportunity with grants through ADA. We could have gotten between $3 and $4 million for every single project, but we didn't have an ADA coordinator. And that's something as mayor, even though we do have one now, and I know William Shanahan's working on it, but those are missed opportunities, and I know that North Adams is missing opportunities. We don't have a capital improvement plan, and that's one thing that I'm going to implement as mayor. That is our executive business plan. That is the map that's going to drive the bus to where we got to go for North Adams.
Mayor?
Thank you.
Well, we
We went into a different topic.
do we want to, let's.
Well, it just kind of flows. I mean,
Yeah, it
you
kind
know,
of
we're
flows.
just-
Yeah,
No,
we're having a
I don't
good
have a problem with
conversation.
that. So why don't I skip ahead? And we can go to the capital improvement plan, because that is one of the questions. So, and I'll give it to, who just spoke? I will give it to Mr. Berglund because you just had the last one. So we'll just skip up to question 6.
All right.
Capital planning and infrastructure costs have been annual topics. The planning board is now taking on the task of reviewing a capital outlay program according to the city code. As mayor, how will you work with the planning board on this effort?
Well, one of the things I want to do is, first, I want to get, I really believe that I want to get an audit. I want to see everything that we have, any assets that are been deteriorated or mismanaged, because that's really going to help me with the planning board to put the capital improvement plan together. We haven't had a capital improvement plan in quite a few years. I mean, this is going back past the Macksey administration. And it's like, when you need to have a guiding light in order to, drive this city. And I always tell this when I'm sharing this information with residents, right? When you have a good executive plan, and I've seen, Dick Alkenbright talk about this, a master plan, whatever you call it, that's really going to be the driver. Any good business that's is going to be successful has to have that. We have not had one. As mayor, once I get all the vital assets and everything looked at, then we can sit down the planning board and then we can start doing what's first things first. What is the biggest things we need to tackle first, so that way we can not have to maybe do a major replacement. Maybe it's some kind of some major repairs of a major replacement. So that's one of the things that I'd like to do with the capital improvement plan. The other thing is full transparency during that process. I want to make sure that when we have town hall meetings, which I'm going to bring back as part of my transparency program, is that they are part of the process, and we know, okay, this is where we started, this is where we're going, this is what happened, this is where we failed, this is what our success is, because the community should be involved in all this process. And that's not what we have today. What we have today is, again, going to infrastructure like Brown Street Bridge. I'm not trying to circle back here, but we don't know what's going on. We only hear information either city council meetings or like in debates. And we should have more of an update as citizens. And as a mayor, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have people be part of the process and go online and find out where we are with the bridges, where we are with the capital improvement plan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Macksey?
So going back to engaging with the community on our major projects, for example, reconnecting communities, the Hoosick River revitalization, the Greylock School project, our community development block grant projects, we always have public hearing and community sessions, always. The Brown Street Bridge is an somewhat internal type of project, and we are a city, and I've been hired as the Chief Executive Officer to carry out those visions and get those types of things done. I completely agree with you, Scott, about community engagement, but getting back to the question about the capital improvement plan, since I have been mayor, in every single budget I have submitted, there has been a capital improvement plan. The Bernard administration, way back when, received a $20,000 planning grant, and we used that grant to develop the format that we have now. And we annually meet throughout the year with our department heads to update this document. And it does get submitted in draft form because it is a moving document. Now that we have somewhat of an engaged planning board, I'm excited to work with them and tackle some of the things within the capital improvement plan. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the almighty dollar. We can put anything we want on paper. If we don't have the funding behind it, it means nothing. It's just a document. And we do have a management plan. The Vision 2030 plan was enacted, I believe, in the Alcombright administration.
About 2015, I
Right.
believe, or 2014.
So-
I read it.
Yeah, and we are taking pieces of that and we are implementing that and using those strategies to obtain more grant money. And I just want to comment about the ADA. When I came into office, came back to City Hall, we did have an ADA coordinator. That was Bill Moranti. Prior to him, it was Vinnie Lively. He's the building inspector. He doesn't specialize in that kind of stuff. When we hired our HR director, Kara, she became the ADA coordinator. And then we discovered that the city hadn't completed their 504 plan. That was something that we have done. And we have named William as the ADA coordinator, and he's working diligently with the departments of this checklist of the low-hanging fruit. Do I agree? And I know Mrs. Rivera personally. I grew up on the street where she used to live.
She told me.
Yeah. Do I agree that we have sidewalk issues? Absolutely. Do I think it's sometimes hard for people to navigate in their wheelers? Absolutely. We are chipping away at that. And again, I've said to Mrs. Rivera, if there are specific areas you're concerned about, please let me know. And I think one of them was in front of Adams Community Bank, which we fixed. We also had concerns from Mountain One about in front of there where we have vaults underneath the sidewalks, so the sidewalks shift. We skim coated all of those. We have an issue on West Main Street where the sidewalk buckled and the pole was tilting. The crew is out there now. We are doing in-house sidewalk repairs, and we are going after dollars to address ADA compliance.
Okay.
But
And I'm
things
gonna
take
let-
time.
Mr. Berglund, you get a minute?
Well, it's going back to, I don't know which topic we're reading. We gotta go back and forth
Capital
topics.
improvement, that's what we started with, infrastructure and
All right,
capital planning.
well, okay. So capital improvement plan. First off, we're talking about drafts and things like that. To my understanding is that when we have a capital improvement plan, we have to submit that with the budget, and that's got to be the final thing. Now, I know it's a living document, and things are going to shift from year to year because where projections change, you can kind of tweak it here and there, but here's the thing, drafts don't count. We need to have something submitted that the city council is going to approve as well, and then that's going to help us get more grant opportunity in the future. Now, I know that we've kind of used the term Mickey Mouse stick because we're using the 2030 plan, pulling things off, but that's not what the state of Massachusetts or business wants to see. They want to see, does the city of North Adams have a solid plan on moving this place forward. And that capital improvement plan is one of the things that I'm going to implement. We have to do that. As far as the ADA compliance, I have municipal meetings from July 2023 where they said they did not have an ADA coordinator or official ADA coordinator. And that, as of April, to be fair, that William Shanahan was appointed as ADA coordinator. The problem they have with this is that in this document, it says that that should be full-time. And I know that William is a talented young man, but he's doing multiple jobs. And in this document, it says it should be a full-time position. It should be a full-time position. He's got a lot on his plate.
Okay, and I'm going to go to Ms. Macksey.
And I will agree with you, Mr. Berglund. William is definitely a talented individual, and he is up for the task. I would love to have the resources behind having a full-time ADA coordinator, and we are evolving to that someday. But right now, William, in his capacity, has the time to do that, and he is doing an excellent job in focusing on it. I think we've gained more ground since William has been working with the ADA than we had in the last 20 years, to be honest with you. And unfortunately, past practice, which we don't like to use that word, it's always fall down to the building inspector just because we haven't had a person. And I agree with you, it probably should be a full-time position along with some other things. But we put the dollars where we think they need it most. And I'm not saying that the ADA requirements aren't important. We are chipping away at them. If you somehow got $10 million, you could address it all in one swoop probably. But back in the day, they did receive some grants to do some of the curb stops and the paddles on the traffic lights. That we need to look at all of that, and that's part of the capital plan.
Okay, and you got 30 seconds?
Yeah, so there has been a study, the transitional plan that the ADA has come out with, and a lot of the stuff that I read is very concerning. It's just not the Eagle Street. Eagle Street, yes, we did do some repairs, but because it's uneven, I was standing in front of my campaign headquarters, and the lady had literally fell on her face. And another constituent I was talking to had seen that, and we helped her up, and thank God she was fine. I had another resident tell me that he tripped and fell on the sidewalk and had sprained his wrist. It's a real concern, Mayor, that that the citizens of North Adams don't feel like, especially the seniors and disabled, they're being taken care of and they're not being listened to. And one of my priorities in my administration is to make sure that things do become ADA compliant, that we do make seniors feel like they're not the lost and forgotten people and disabled people. And this is what I'm hearing in the community, because I've traveled. I've learned a lot in the 2 years I've been here in North Adams. I've done a lot of homework, a lot of studying. And I like to listen to people, and that's what they're telling me.
All right.
So
Ms.
I
Macksey?
just want to comment on seniors. Scott, I'm sure you've researched me and know my background. I care for my 94-year-old mother and my 92-year-old uncle. We go on Main Street quite a bit, and I agree, it's hard to navigate. But any senior that has called my office or any senior that has made me aware of things, we've tried to be very proactive to the best of our ability. My big focus is those sidewalks in front of the Goodwill. Have you seen those sidewalks in front of the Goodwill? They're horrible.
I've seen a lot of sidewalks.
right.
I've seen sidewalks at the Goodwill. I've seen
my
sidewalks
point
on
is
Church
that
Street and
the
Ashland.
elderly population of this community is not going unheard. If you look at the investment that we've made in that Council on Aging over the last 4 years, with redoing the inside, redoing the kitchen, making the basement usable, putting a deck on the back. Our next phase through community development will be making some more parking. That's an investment in the elderly community. And I get the mobility issues because I have MS and I sometimes have a problem walking, and that little raised sidewalk can get me. So I understand that, but to say that I don't listen to the elderly population is just wrong.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the next
Can I
question.
just have 1 second?
One second, because we're trying to get through these.
What I'm saying is that's what the community is telling me, because I'm listening to what they're saying. Okay?
All right.
That's all I want to say.
On to the next one.
On to the next.
So I'm going to switch this up a little bit. So I want to go back to the public safety building, and this is for Ms. Macksey. One of your priorities in taking office was the public safety building. The police department has been shifted into better quarters, definitely, but the fire department remains in the 1950s building. Is this the solution, or should the city continue to pursue a combined building?
It's not the solution. So when I took office, we thought we had a $1.2 million earmark, which we did have from former Senator Himes. It was not funded by the Baker administration, and it has not been funded and then expired under the Healy administration. You can ask any state representative, any senator, any federal delegation, how I constantly hound them about public safety dollars, public safety building dollars. And the philosophy is at this moment that dollars should be, for those kind of repairs should be on the backs of the communities. Now, with that being said, the police department had to be moved. We were under a decree of the Architectural Access Board, and we were getting fined because our police department was not handicap accessible. When we had prisoners, unfortunately, in wheelchairs, the police officers had to carry them up the stairs. How degrading is that? Very degrading. And at that time, I wanted to stop the penalty, and also, we had an opportunity to rent the space. Is that a permanent solution? No. And the fire department underwent some renovations due to a roof leak, and they've made some repairs. We are certainly in need of a new fire department. I need funding for a feasibility study. I do not want to put it on the backs of the taxpayers at this time, specifically, Mr. Berglund, because I am sensitive to the fact that the Greylock school debt will be coming on in a few years. So I am constantly looking for funding for the public safety building. Yes, we did move the police department. We did that, 1, to stop the fines, 2, to improve morale, but most importantly, to serve our community better. Specifically to serve those citizens who are at the lowest point of their day, of their life, when they have to come into a police department for whatever reason.
Okay. And Mr. Berglund?
Well, the fire complex thing was one of the things that the mayor wanted to do right away, and it hasn't been done. It's been 4 years. I've heard the same conversation in the last debate about the money that was supposed to be earmarked. I believe the fire department, either we need to do a study on it and see, can we salvage the building and get into ADA compliance, which we probably can't because it's kind of old. We need to, again, it all starts with the capital improvement plan and where we're going to drive the city, right? So when we're talking about getting capital for the building, there's things that we could do. We can ask some of our community partners and investors to help invest in that. After all, they do use the service. The other thing is Williamstown is building a fire department, and one of the concepts they came up with was asking the college for some money, something we can ask Mass MoCA. You know, Mass MoCA is here. I mean, people have this paradigm about Mass MoCA, but the truth is that there are partners here too. They do bring in revenue, and we should ask them to be partners in this and part of building this fire station or a police complex or whatever we decide to do to move forward. And I think that's something fair that we should have a discussion. I don't believe that we've been there, and that's something that for me as mayor, and what I will investigate to do, because we do need them. And I've heard the stories about the police station, or the fire station, excuse me. It is deplorable because some of the firefighters, when I meet them, they said, yeah, I mean, we're in the old police building, right? So that's something I definitely want to take a look at and move that needle forward and get the funding that we need. And if that means we got to ask some of our partners to help us with that, I think that's fair.
Okay.
So with asking people for money, those asks have been made. I've even asked the president of Williams College if she wanted to build us a fire station or a police station. What we have done, Mr. Berglund, and I didn't say that when I first answered the question, is we've done a complete, what we call a needs assessment. So for a modern day police department, fire department, even to move our wire and alarm division in such a building, and the possibility of maybe having a city ambulance as well, we've done a need assessment that identifies how much space we need for a standard modern facility. I will tell you that I have changed my tune in the last 4 years. I was very big on everybody had to be under one house. So some of my thoughts lately have been, and I talked to my team about this, do we build a fire station somewhere on a city-owned piece of property, and then renovate the existing, what used to be the public safety, which is now just the firehouse? Do we do that? And that's something that will require a study. That's something that will require, can we really do that? One thing that we're very focused on for both police and fire is that we send a lot of our people out of the community for training. We want to host a training ground here. We want to be able to be that hub in northern Berkshire that has a training ground. So we're looking for property that has enough room to do that. But I will say, you know, I'm really open to separating that team and reusing the existing fire station. But the fire station occupies the fire department.
Yeah.
The police side of the building is empty.
Right.
I
Mr.
understand
Berglund?
that. Yeah, again, this is, you know, the information that she's outputting here in this debate. There's no information to follow up. So as a citizen, the issue that I have is that it's all great and it sounds like you're informed, but I have no way of actually trusting and verifying that information. And as mayor, one of the things I would like to do is be more transparent in those processes so people can ask. Most people don't live in the world that we live in, Mayor, where we're looking at grants and things and RFPs and stuff like that. That's what we call industry jargon, right? So I want to make it simple for people to go out and be able to get the information and say, hey, this is what happened with the grant. We didn't get it because of this or because we got that. And $44 million in grants is great, but what did we get? That's the stuff that I want to provide. And the last thing I'll mention about the fire department is this. We need, I'm not for having a complex. We're going to do first things first. We know the police are safe. We know they have a good environment to work in. I'm going to work diligently as mayor to make sure that we get a fire complex, and we're going to work with our partners in the community to make that happen.
Okay, all right. Do you want to do a 30-second follow-up?
No, I will go with that.
Okay.
I'm good with it.
All right, good.
Thank you.
Let's go on to, I'm trying to get some of these questions in. Okay, this will be to Mr. Berglund. Affordable quality housing has become a significant issue, and not only in this area. The council approved a 40R smart growth zoning overlay area to support housing development, but nothing has been proposed from private developers. What can the city do to encourage or support housing initiatives?
Well, the first thing we got to do, again, I'm a first things first kind of guy. So when we look at affordable housing, we have to make sure that we know what the median income is. We know the median income is $49,000, right? So if for most people, that's way out of their grasp. So we need to partner with investors that are going to help build out the affordable housing. The issue that we have is that we have a lot of inventory that's sitting out there. It's been in land court for years, and we really got to start expediting that process in order to get that stuff back in the rolls. The other thing we need to do is take an inventory and have somebody go out there like the building inspector and say, hey, which properties are good, which properties aren't good, which we have to take down, which can we salvage, because then we can actually market those properties properly to the local investors. I've met some local investors that have put some stuff back on the tax rolls, and they're super interested in getting their hands in these things. And as the mayor would know, the more property we have in the tax roll, the more we can stabilize the taxes. And I'm going to highly encourage investors. The other thing I had ideas for is that we have a homeless community that needs places. We have huge addiction problems here in North Adams, and that's just nationwide, it's not just North Adams itself. I've talked to community leaders, and one of the things we're thinking about is maybe gifting some housing to those individuals and giving them some purpose to help build that stuff out. The other great resource we have is McCann. I've been talking with the Hope House or the Living Hope Church, and they want to build a Hope House, and I want to bridge that gap between McCann and them and help them build that out. That will help with some housing. The issue with affordable housing, though, is that these people are here to make a profit. What we need to do is ask people to make something that's reasonable for our community so they can live. And we also have to invest in senior housing because seniors have nowhere to go when they downsize.
Okay. Ms. Macksey?
Could you repeat the original question?
Affordable quality housing has become a significant issue, and not only in this area. The council approved a 40R smart growth zoning overlay to support housing development, but nothing has been proposed by private developers. What can the city do to encourage or support housing initiatives?
So with 40R and with the Affordable Housing Trust, I think those are two steps that the city did well in taking a proactive approach to do that. Now with the Affordable Housing Trust, we need to align dollars so we can do things. We are, the committee that was formed that helped the city council in drafting the Affordable Housing Trust did awesome work. They did great work. But now we have to find dollars to support that. We are in conversation with BRPC for some technical assistance on how we now make this ordinance real and robust. With 40R, you're absolutely right. Nobody's taking advantage of the process, and we can't understand why. We are hopeful. I can't speak to it at 100%, but the gentleman on Union Street, after he sells all his bricks, we're hopeful that he will be developing some housing. It's the first time in 20 years I've ever seen him come in with some drawings, which is hopeful. But as far as expediting the land court process, the Church Street property was an example of how we were able to move finally on something. But actually getting land court to move is a bit out of our control. We call every month. Anything that we have that is able to be entered into land court, we do. But again, there's that thought that we try to work with people. But you know, Scott, any developer or any person that comes into the office and says, hey, I'm interested in buying a property on Burnham Street and I hear you have a lien on it, you know, we give them the information, we give them the contact information. Some people have been successful in buying them directly from the owners, and others have been successful in buying them from us when we foreclose. It's frustrating for me as a former tax collector to come back to City Hall after 16 years and see some of the properties that I put in land court haven't moved. I will give a shout out to Tara Jacobs from the Governor's Council, who has a part in land court, who I had a conversation with, gave her the list, and our property started to move. But again, they have their own process about really doing a lot of outreach around contacting heirs, contacting family members. Really, you know, that process is very long and it is frustrating.
Yeah. I'm going to go on Mr. Berglund.
Sure.
You got a minute?
Yeah, I understand that that process might be daunting. However, you know, one of the things what I've realized is when we get some real estate agents involved, the process seems to turn around a little bit faster. I know that some things have changed, they have shifted some of those things, and that's great. What we really need to do a better job, in my opinion, is making sure we are contacting. I mean, we should, my administration, at least contacting at least every other week to make sure that we put pressure on this thing, because we have so many different properties that are blighted, and there's things that are dangerous. And that's the other thing I want to address too, is that the reason why I want to send people out to figure out what properties are good, what properties are not good, is because I've had multiple constituents tell me that there's properties that are abutting their property, that are dangerous for their kids. We have one in Furnace Street that literally the building's ready to fall down, and that's a city-owned property, and that's something we should look at taking down because it's a safety hazard. As far as the housing portion of that is, you know, we can take those buildings down, and one of the ideas I have is creating ADUs or small houses and make them ADA compliant, so our seniors, when they want to downsize, they have some place to go.
Okay. All right. Ms.
Matt?
Macksey?
So as far as, blighted property, we have what we call a distressed property list that we work every year. In the upcoming community development grant cycle, we are earmarking some money to do demos. When I was the procurement officer, I used to be able to demolish houses for $25,000. Fast forward to 2025, they're about $125,000 per house now. And as far as the property on Furnace Street, we are fully aware of that property on Furnace Street. The issue with removing that property on Furnace Street is that it's holding up the retaining wall. And if we were to take that property down, that whole access to Reservoir Road up to Mount Greylock would have to be shut down. And that's close to a $6 million fix. So if you can find grant money for me, Scott, I'll take it. But right now, we're leaving that building there. I know that it's deplorable and it's not the best way to do things, but we are having a significant issue with retaining walls, and it's the nature of the beast. But with that, going to senior housing, that is a concern. It's not so much, yes, there is some financial burden involved, Mr. Berglund, but I also think there's the upkeep of property. Some people just can't keep up their property because they just don't have the energy. And I'm fortunate that I'm able to keep my mother in her house, but my question is, where would she go if I couldn't? Where would she go? She'd come to my house before I put her under the bridge. But that is a concern, and that's something that we're looking at. But it's not common to just North Adams.
Yeah. And like I said, Mr. Berglund, do you want to take 30 seconds or
Yeah, I'll
more?
take 30 seconds. Thank you. About that, I understand it's a cost. And again, this all goes back to my thing having a master plan, which is the capital improvement plan. That's where we're going to seek some more grants. There's other opportunities that we're missing with not-for-profits where we're not capitalizing on pilot programs. And that's one of the things I'm also going to be looking into, because that stuff can help pay for some of that stuff that we're looking to do. And I don't want to put any more on the citizens for a tax burden, but I also realize that place on Furnace Street is a health issue. If that thing was to collapse, or that wall is ever to push that property over, that would in turn damage another person's property, or at worse, kill somebody. So what I'm sharing today is that we need to do a better job in trying to make these plans happen. It's not that, I understand sometimes you just don't have the funds, but sometimes we've got to dig deep and try to find, and that may be getting better grant writers. That might be, again, getting a capital improvement plan. That might be going to the state and asking for more money and bridging those relationships so that we can get that money. I don't know what the relationship is between this administration and the state of Massachusetts and the lieutenant governor's office. Again, none of that information is available. A lot of the stuff the mayor said today, yeah, it sounds great, but the problem is there's no information that we have that the citizens of North Adams can say, hey, the mayor said X, Y, and Z, I want to check it out. We're only going by what your word is. And to have a transparent government, that means that when we have projects like the fire station, where are we in that process?
Okay. I'm gonna since this is being brought up, you brought it up a number of times, let's talk about transparency. And we're gonna go, the question would be, Ms. Macksey would get this question next anyways. How transparent do you think your government is, and can it be better?
I think anything can be better. We try to inform as many people as we can through the city council format. We issue press releases on projects. People come in, we try to meet with them. Our department heads are very forthcoming with information for the most part. But what do you want to know? Do you want to see the bid documents for the Brown Street Bridge? I mean, what do you want to know? Those are things that the common person probably isn't interested in. Do you want to know about the Mohawk Theater? I've talked at length about that. When we're in finance, we've talked extensively about the public safety and the needs assessment. What do you want to know? I feel that I am out in the community a lot. I talk to many constituents as well, Mr. Berglund, and people ask questions and they get answers. Some of the people who say that we're not transparent are unhappy with the answer that they get. They want a different answer. And unfortunately, we can only say what is the truth. And we can only say what we have to work with. We don't make stuff up. If we don't have the funding, we don't have the funding. And as far as, that we can only go by your word, well, I have lived in this community for 52 years. I have close to 20 years of municipal experience, and I think my word is good. People might not like the answer, and I think those are the people who say that we're not transparent. That person who calls 500 times and just badgers us about, well, I want my neighbor's fence taken down. Well, we can't intervene if the neighbor's fence is legally put up. So those kind of things are the hard things that people kind of say we're not transparent. Do we need to improve our website? Do I wish, just like we talked about the ADA coordinator, do I wish I had a communications person? Tammy, you want a job when you retire? Do I wish we had a communications person? But sometimes in the hustle and bustle of the everyday work, I'm not going to give you my daily playbook. I'm out there working every day, sometimes longer, in the best interest of this community. And for those who think that that's not transparent, and for those who think that our work is not transparent, call and ask a question. We're happy to answer it.
So, Mr. Berglund, and specifically, what would you do to make your administration more transparent?
Well, there's a couple of things. I'll answer that, and then I'll address the transparency issue about emails and things like that. But my administration is going to be very transparent. When we have stuff going on with the Brown Street Bridge and with Route 2 overpass and the Connecting Communities Grant, all that stuff, that's going to be put online, and we're going to share the process with the people. It's not for us to decide on what is for public consumption and what isn't. If somebody decides they want to find out what we're paying for certain things at 2 a.m. in the morning, that's their right as a taxpayer to know. I am not going to hold back on documents and things that people may or may not want to know. If my administration, files reports, they're going to be on time. People are going to be able to go on there and get it. But most importantly, we have major projects. When we have things like the Mohawk Theater, and we have things like Heritage Park that have been going on for years. I mean, we've been beating the Heritage Park thing for years now. I mean, going back to when you did a debate with Elkenbright. I mean, this is a problem that's been going on, and everybody has their idea and this grandiose thing what they want. The truth is we need to have a process where people can go and say, hey, I want to see what's going on at the Brown Street Bridge. Okay, this is where we are in the process. Grants, it's great. We got $44 million in grants. Me as a business person want to know, what grants didn't we get? Why didn't we get them? What can we do to improve in getting those grants? Where do we miss the mark? All that stuff should be out for public consumption, and it is not. And that's the thing I'm going to do. I'm going to be very transparent what we get. I'm going to share my successes. I'm going to share my failures with the citizens of North Adams. And as a community, that's why I want to have town halls, so that we can get together and discuss what is happening. And maybe somebody might have a suggestion that something I tried didn't work. And that's true community engagement.
Okay.
If I may circle back to the grant writers, I'm very proud of the team that we have assembled, and even the past team with Mike Newvalley in community development. We have excellent grant writers, and we just don't pigeonhole one person to write. We sit around as a team, we look at the topic, we pull in the people who are experts in the area, they write, we proof, we add more. We as a team, we have a team of grant writers. Which to some may seem, though, that's a waste of time, you should have just one person. We have one person who gathers all the information, fills out all the applications, but everybody has a different expertise. For example, Tim Lascarbo, he would write on the wall dam repair and those kind of things because that's his background. And then somebody else will come in and critique that. But to say we need better grant writers, I somewhat take offense to that because we've assembled a really good team. And when the governor announces fully all the one-stops, you'll see that. We cleaned up pretty well this year. And when we say, why didn't we get this grant? For example, years ago, we applied for a FEMA grant for the Walnut Street repair. I know, Mr. Berglund, you were up there the other day. it wasn't funded because the cost-benefit analysis didn't affect enough people. So we took that information, put it through the One Stop, and I'm pleased to announce that we have $2 million for the Walnut Street repair, and that project will start in the spring. But it takes time. Often when we get rejections, which we don't get rejections that often, when we get rejections, we don't know why. We apply for a lot of competitive grants, specifically reconnecting communities. I think we were one of 8 communities our size to get that grant nationally. And that's something to be said about our grant writers.
Okay. Mr. Berglund, you have a response?
I want to be clear. I don't think I'm digging on the grant writers. What I'm getting at is that everybody has their own skill set, just like you said, and we need to obviously lean on those skill sets. Okay. My issue is that, again, what the mayor just said, there's a whole string of stuff that's going on here, but we don't have anything or any processes that she can share on how that works other than today to debate. Why people are interested in, when I travel the city, people are interested in how we rate grants, why we don't get them. A simple update on Facebook or a video or something like that. A lot of mayors do that, and that's what the people are asking for, because they want to know about the Wall Street, even if it doesn't affect them, right? So that's what my administration is going to be about: transparency. We're going to put all the data out there that I collect. I'm going to give updates on what projects we have going on, because I'm not afraid if something's not happening, we're not moving it, or we missed the mark somewhere, because that's all part of the process, right? So I want to be perfectly transparent with people, and that's what I mean by transparency. We're going to have a government that's going to put all the documents out on time. We're going to document the processes that we're doing when it comes to grant writing. We could do something on grant writing and put it out in a video or something so people understand the process, so they're not frustrated. People are very frustrated in this community because we have not moved the needle in the last 4 years. And that's what I'm hearing in the community. And I take that serious, because I do care about this community.
So by not moving the needle, again, we've secured funding for a new school. We are repairing 2 bridges. We are repairing sidewalks. We have moved our police station. We've adequately staffed our public safety staff. We are making renovations to our library. We have sufficiently funded our library so we don't lose state aid. I can give you a whole list, but we are moving the needle. It doesn't happen overnight, and you cannot do it without funding.
Well, she said this in the last debate, the same exact words. And what I would say to that is that you put a bunch of stuff in your website and listed it that was going to get done, the roads, bridges, everything, ready day one, and it hasn't happened. And as far as the library, we lost an $80,000 grant because it took a long time to get the contractor there to go ahead and fix that. And then you had to pull money from another fund in order to cover that. So what I'm sharing today is that we need to be better prepared as a government and have steps and processes in place so we don't miss those opportunities. I can almost guarantee that we're missing a lot of opportunities because we don't have a capital improvement plan.
But we do.
We do not have a capital improvement plan. We have a draft. We need to have an actual physical document that says this is accepted not as a draft. And again, I understand that things are going to change, Tammy, because, after 3 years, you plan out 5 years, and 3 years, things change, and we got to tweak things a little bit. But when you go for grants, the state of Massachusetts is going to want to know, what are we doing with those grants? And it's the same thing as if we're starting a business. The bank's going to want to know, what is your business plan moving forward?
And, with the grant management piece, Mr. Berglund, any grant that we get, we do status reports. Any grant that we get, we have to close out the grants. In some instances, the grantor comes out and looks at the project that we've done. And with the library, we can't force contractors to bid on our jobs. So when we were able to get a contractor, he wasn't able to start within the timeline of the grant application. Did I hate saying we were going to give $75,000 back? But we had to, because we would then be out of compliance with the grant. And I knew darn well that we couldn't get the contractor to start. So sometimes you have to make those decisions, and that's what a true leader does. However, we didn't stop the project. We had money available to us to continue on. I started that project in 1996, repairing that Belvedere, and I'm proud that we were able to execute and that the project is ongoing.
Okay. All right, let's move on to another question. We don't have a lot of time, so I want to get one more question in because we're only going to have time for one more. North Adams has positioned itself as an open and affirming community, most particularly towards its LGBTQIA+ population. Do you, and this goes to Mr. Berglund, do you support that stance? And what would you do as mayor should federal agents be deployed to the city?
Good question.
Can you clarify that? What do you mean by federal agents being deployed against our LGBTQ community?
Well, I said most particularly towards LGBTQ, but do you support the stance of North Adams as an open and affirming community? And what would you do as mayor should federal agents be deployed to the city, like ICE agents, FBI?
For immigration?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's say
well,
immigration.
let's start with the immigration thing first, all right? I want to make it perfectly clear that I am not going to be using the North Adams Police Department to round up migrants here, okay? We've got a fentanyl crisis and a crime crisis here, and that's where our police should be directed towards, right? If the feds come in here, they've made it perfectly clear that they're going to arrest mayors and do whatever they can. And my job, number one, is to make sure that I'm here as mayor to make sure that the city runs. But I am not going to be assisting that. Our police officers are too precious here, and I can't have officers being down because they're, busting in houses taking grocery workers. That's just not going to happen. As far as the LGBT community, I've had LGBTQ people reach out to me because they're afraid of their safety. I know there was a concern during the parade or something going on with that. I want to make it perfectly clear that anybody that comes here, lives here, LGBTQ or otherwise, will be safe in North Adams. And if anybody is bullied, anybody is beat up, anything, I'm going to take full action in making sure that we prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law, period.
Ms. Macksey?
Mr. Berglund, you and I agree on something. How about that?
Wow.
I totally
Didn't agree on a lot today.
Yes, I totally agree that everyone should be safe in our community. I fully agree that despite what your gender is or your sexual preference or what have you, that this is a safe community. I also agree with you that our police department is not going to partake in ICE or FBI protocols for immigrants, only because, one, that's not what we want to do. If you're a North Adams resident, you're a North Adams resident. But also, when they make these attempts to secure people, they have federal jurisdiction. Mm-hmm. So we usually wouldn't be involved. There was a rumor going around that ICE was at our airport at one time, and they weren't. But it certainly, if they were, it would be on the federal side. Mm-hmm. Also, when we talk about crime and addiction, the North Adams Police Department has taken close to $900,000 of drugs off the street, and we're proud of that. And I personally work very closely with the healing communities, the Have Hope Recovery Center, the Breen Center. The police department is very, very engaged in all the social services entities. So we are working every day to help, support, and to battle crime. We want everyone to be safe. But going back to the LGBTQ plus community, I've been an advocate for the community since I was in college. And it's sad to see that people are bullied. It's sad to see that people live in fear. And the residents of North Adams, I don't want them. And that's why we do the Sanctuary City. That's why we do the proclamations. That's why we come together to celebrate. We don't know as straight people really what their experiences are. And my philosophy is we just want to be kind, we want to be humble, we want to be helpful, and we want to take care of our community members. So your opening thoughts, Mr. Berglund, I agree with you, open and affirming.
Okay, all right, good. So can we move on? We've got 4 minutes left. Let's move on to closing statements, if you're
Okay.
good with that.
Sure.
And Mr. Berglund, you get to go first.
Okay. Again, I want to thank Ms. Tammy Daniels, NBCTC, and the mayor for the debate today. North Adams is at a pivotal moment. We've had 4 years of experience in this administration. The only thing that North Adams has experienced is a new Greylock school, which will add 30-year tax increase to our community that many cannot afford. This mayor committed to poisoning the watershed, the Bell Pipe, which almost was destroyed, a dam that's in serious disrepair and would cause loss of life because unfixed. A school that half the voters didn't want, more challenging times for our seniors and disabled community. Potholes, pipes bursting weekly, newly paved roads being dug up, and an aging pipe. Non-responsive mayor won't answer emails or phone calls. An administration that screens phone calls, the list can go on. I asked North Adams this question: does this sound like transparency? Is this true leadership? As your mayor, I will offer the truth in open government, where we can finally have true community engagement, a fresh perspective, a collective of ideas from our community, and full transparency about where your tax dollars are being spent. A pro-business environment that easily welcomes new business investors and doesn't hold the process up. I know I'm the leader that North Adams needs today, so we can finally pick the can, so we can finally pick up the can instead of kicking the can down the road. Because by the next election, there may not be a can left to kick. As a leader, Scott Berglund, I'm asking for your vote for November 4th. Together as this community, we will create a strong and vibrant community and stop selling ourselves short. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Macksey.
I never proposed a project that would poison the watershed. We were in a conceptual area, and in fact, I stopped the project for that reason. And during that process, we went from the spraying to mechanical harvesting. But with that, I am very sensitive to the watershed, and that's why the project was stopped, because I listened to the community. But with that, this election comes down to one central theme, and that is who is best prepared to lead the city of North Adams forward. Our city operates like a $52 million business, and now more than ever, it demands a strong, experienced, and steady leadership. My leadership style is straightforward: be present, be fair, and be honest. Show up even when it's hard and get the job done. I'm not afraid to roll up my sleeves. I've always been and will continue to be a hands-on working mayor, showing up every day on the behalf of the residents. During my time as mayor, we've made meaningful progress. We've secured $44 million in grant funding, supporting projects nearly in every corner of the city. We've locked in funding for a new school, and I currently have another $4 million pending in state grants, including the critical funding to repair the Walnut Street wall. This work is real, it's measurable, and it's only the beginning. I pledge to you that I will continue to fix what's broken: our streets, our public buildings, affordable housing, and vital infrastructure. I'll fight for better access to health care and support our most vulnerable residents. I'll ensure everyone feels safe in their homes, free from slumlords, drug dealers, and sexual predators. And I will keep investing in our children, because their future is our future. My campaign is built on experience, results, and unwavering dedication. And I ask for your support to continue my work. I've dedicated my whole life to serving North Adams. Now I ask that you stand with me once again. On November, vote for an experienced leader that delivers. Vote Jennifer Macksey for mayor. Thank you.
Thank you both for participating, and to Northern Berkshire Community Television for hosting this event. Don't forget to register to vote for the election on November 4th. Polls will be open from 7 to 7 at St. Elizabeth's Parish Center, And I want to say good luck to both of you. It was a very good debate, a lot of ideas, and I appreciate you being with us. And goodbye.
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you, Tammy.